Between what we've lived through and what our day jobs demand, we've spent some serious time researching neuroscience. The pattern we keep seeing is the way we think shapes the way we behave. And over time, those behaviors shape our outcomes, often before we even realize we've made a choice.
So in that research of neuroscience, it opened the door to neuroplasticity, habit loops, stress responses, microdecisions, all the brainy stuff that explains why just try harder is a trash strategy. In this lab, we're rewiring habits one experiment at a time.
Welcome to I² Lab. I'm someone that I'm hearing this lately, and I don't know how to reframe it. So I've been really struggling with it. So I've gone into a new role at a day job. And during one of the interviews, we almost got into an argument of how I'm a disciplined person. And I went back and forth. I'm like, I am not a disciplined person. I'm actually not disciplined. And during that conversation, I really leaned into it's more about the identity and they just kind of looked at me like I had 6 heads. I think they understood me, but they're like, okay, no, you're just really disciplined. This is where you've been, because I've been able to keep off 200 pounds for over a couple years now, and going into the gym and working towards, even a greater muscle mass versus a fat mass. So that's kind of the journey I'm on now is, yes, it's maintaining the loss, but also body composition and what I'm moving into. But I heard it framed like this the other day, and I really so we've been wrestling this with on a couple of our other podcasts, and I wanted to go into it. And it was around that discipline isn't about, the reframe was about a trade-off. And I think we can unpack that as we get into this. Like, what does that really mean? That it isn't just, yes, it's discipline, but it's more that you understand the trade-off of what not doing the hard things or being disciplined around saying no to certain things could mean as a trade-off for you. What does it mean for you now? But we don't see this early on. Mm-hmm. I don't think I saw this until I was deep into maintenance, because I was still just, okay, I got to do this because then that keeps the weight down. Okay, I gotta eat this because then that's gonna keep me around this 5 to 10 pound range that I want to be in. But there's more of a trade-off way beyond the scale that we can get into. And discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do hard things. It's about choosing a trade-off, even when you can't fully see it yet. We can get into this about you can have the perfect program for you. But if you don't see the trade-off, are you really going to continue to do it? Mm-hmm. You might not even continue to do it when you do see the trade-off in some scenarios.
The ROI isn't there, right? It's not worth it. It's not working fast enough.
Right.
Or it could be a number of different things, but
yeah, that's true. I guess you could see it as ROI because we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, I kind of took it a work area, but I was thinking personally, right? Like the return on an investment, right? It is hard to make those decisions consistently day after day. And if you're only losing half pound a week,
it doesn't feel like
maybe that's
the
not
juice
worth it.
Is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a scenario.
Yeah. Which, I mean, obviously, if you're thinking holistically and you're thinking big picture, a half pound a week is great.
It is.
But when you're in the thick of it and it's really, really hard,
you are impatient and you want to see bigger numbers because you want to get there faster.
Exactly. A half pound a week just is not worth it. I'd rather have the cookie, or I'd rather have, you really start to gamble.
I don't think you see the trade-off then, though.
Yeah,
I don't think you're really seeing it as a trade-off. I mean, at the beginning of any change, and this doesn't have to be weight loss, it could be finances, it could be any change you're wanting to do, some sort of behavior change. Mm-hmm. The trade-off is invisible and unbalanced. I think that's where you're going with it's not worth it to me. Mm-hmm. The balance isn't there. A half pound isn't worth me saying no to the cookie. There's an unbalance It's a completely invisible trade-off for you. You feel all the effort you're putting into it. And especially at the beginning, the effort feels way heavier. And I say this over and over again, but it really is. There is still effort I have to put in, but isn't as heavy as when I was 355 pounds and just starting in the journey, for sure. It isn't like effort goes away. So I don't want I think people get into this and they're, 100 pounds down and they're like, God, it feels like I have to put in so much effort. Like, is this ever going to be easy? It gets easier, but I don't know that it's ever going to just be easy all the time. I think there are days that are easier than others. Certainly. This is probably what some people want to hear, but I also think they need to know that there's nothing wrong with them just because it feels harder on one day than another. It doesn't mean you're doing it right still. It's just going to feel more effortful here than it is there. I think that's like with anything. Like if I'm saving money, sometimes it feels easier than other times. Or if I'm working towards, this one, I don't know, thing that I'm doing, I think it could feel easier to do it this time than other times. I do hear a lot in our group where people will say, I just need to get back into the groove. I need to get back into where I was when I first started, because it's almost like, I think they're looking back on it with rose-colored glasses too. They don't feel like they're in a groove. They don't feel like they are as into it or they're as disciplined or they haven't got that streak going that they felt like they had when they first started something. I think it's kind of the same lens. There's this unbalance that they're feeling. I mean, okay, you have a bunch of effort. You've got restriction. There is some restriction that is going to happen for you to lose weight, period. If somebody tells you differently, they haven't lost. In my opinion, haven't had to lose a significant amount of weight and keep it off, or they haven't interacted with food in the same way some of us have. That's my opinion on restriction. You are going to have to restrict in some way.
Well, and I want to go back to you said it gets easier, but it's never easy.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's actually discipline coming into play. Because discipline is planning ahead, it's consistency, it's setting expectations. And I don't know. I'm just, because we're in the thick of it, it's kind of hard to see the forest through the trees.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wonder if because of that discipline, that consistency that you have done for so many years, now you're 2 years into maintenance, is it easier because you have been disciplined? Because you have set those parameters, that consistency, that it's your brain doesn't have to work as hard.
It doesn't.
If you're disciplined. Because you've already set that foundational layer. Like you don't have to struggle so hard. You don't have to think so hard. You wake up every morning, you put your shoes on, and you go work out.
Well, and from a biology standpoint, from an actual brain chemistry standpoint, you are, as every time you do it, you're plowing that neuropathway a little deeper. So it should get easier because that ditch in your brain, that neuropathway,
right,
you're more seated in that neuropathway than when it was more shallow, when you were just starting. So from that standpoint,
it does get easier.
It does get easier.
I mean, I feel like the brain, we've talked about the brain is lazy, right? It has limited cognitive energy. So that chaos, I think it comes from having to make so many micro decisions. So I think that's where it's like a catch-22. Like you have to have discipline to be disciplined, but once you have it, then it's easier and then you can be more disciplined. It's like the chicken before the egg. What comes first?
I heard something else the other day because you just said micro decisions, and it was describing discipline as micro discipline and macro discipline. I thought, and it really didn't go deep into it, but I've never heard discipline
in micro versus macro.
Macro discipline versus micro discipline. That's all I wrote down from it. But I think there is little tiny decisions that you make throughout the day that add up to the bigger things. So there's the the water you decided to drink when you first woke up.
Yeah.
Maybe you could argue if that's micro or macro, depending on where you're at. But I think viewing it like that too, when you compound the decisions you make through the day that are going to get you closer to your goals, that's where a lot of the behavior sits that you're trying to change.
The macro decision is the big picture, maybe like the structure, the planning. I will have 120 ounces of water today or whatever it is, whatever your goal is. Like that's the macro, but then the micro is the actual in the moment decision making.
Yeah. It's the little, it's the, I'm going to do this right now.
Now is the time I'm drinking water and I'm refilling it.
Which, I mean, you're right. Your brain does the math. Like, why am I paying a cost for something I'm not receiving yet?
Right.
But you have to know the trade-off, and you don't see the trade-off at first. I'm not sure when some people, I think people see this trade-off. Finally, they find if that finally can be seen at certain different parts of the journey and for different pieces of the process that you're doing too, because this isn't just I'm eating these things and then I'm going to get that. It's a multitude of things that is compounded that's going to get you where you want to go and then keep you there. And discipline feels hard because, I mean, you're paying upfront for something you can't yet experience. The gym is a big one. You're not just going to get all the muscles or the cardio benefit, whatever you're going to the gym for, tomorrow. You go to the gym, you come home, you look in the mirror, you're not going to see it. It's the long game. If you can frame this as the long game, then you could start backing into, I guess that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I want to bring this to light so people can start to look for the trade-off earlier on than I did. Start to see not drinking the wine at 8:00 at night. What is the trade-off for that? That I can sleep better, that I don't wake up at 3 a.m. and then I can't get back to sleep, that I'm actually getting deeper sleep from 10 to 1, and my body can clean out all the things that it needs to clean out in the best way that it can. It can do all the hormonal stuff that it needs to reset and get me prepared for the next day. That's going to have everything. I'm just going to feel more like myself.
Yeah.
And I know that's so abstract for people, but that's like one of the biggest symptoms of not being hormonally balanced. And that seems like such a shit symptom to say, but that's one of the most common ones that we hear from women.
But in the moment,
I just don't
it's
feel
a terrible feeling.
It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
It's a terrible feeling. I just don't feel like myself.
Yeah.
What is that? I mean, what does that mean?
It's so vague.
It's so vague, but it's so poignant too. To not feel like yourself. You can almost feel like you're going crazy at times when you're like, I'm just not me. This isn't me. I'm someone who comes home and I attack things, and all I want to do is come home and lay in bed or lay on the couch or sit down. I don't want to mow the lawn. I don't want to do that craft that I bought that's been sitting on the table for 6 months. I don't want to organize the bathroom, even though I told myself I was going to in the month of, whatever it is. Those are the things that you just come home, and because you do feel like yourself, you do start to organize the bathroom. You do open that box that's been on the table for 6 months that you wanted to put together this one thing for this one person that you told them that you would do, but you're a little bit late doing it because you haven't felt like yourself, because you haven't wanted to do it. But there's a trade-off for that. I think that discipline is actually a trade-off system if I really lean into this whole understanding the trade-off type of a thing. I mean, every choice is a trade. Every choice. So right now you're drinking cold brew with nothing in it. You have a water bottle next to you.
I'm drinking more of the cold brew than the water.
I mean, a short-term choice is to eat whatever. The long-term trade is to lose regulation, to gain more body fat, and that maybe that's not what you want. A short-term choice could be to skip a workout or to skip a walk. A long-term trade is you're losing momentum that maybe you really needed needed to get you going. A short-term choice. Let's talk about sleep. Stay up late. I'm gonna scroll on TikTok a little more. I really like all of the videos I'm seeing right now. This dog video is hilarious, and I want to see one more. And before you know it, it's an hour and a half later, and it's 11:30 at night, and you're still not asleep.
And what did you really get out of that?
What did you really get out of that? The long-term trade, hormonal disruption. And that leads to not feeling like yourself. I'm going to bring it back to that.
That's what you got out of that.
That's what you got out of that.
Yeah.
Short-term choice, I'm going to avoid discomfort. I'm going to avoid feeling vulnerable because I had to have a really hard conversation. So I'm going to go face down in something because that's what I use to regulate myself. And then the long-term trade is 6 months from now, you are exactly where you were 6 months earlier. That is the long-term trade. And the hard choice would be to say no to scrolling on social media until 11:30. You said you were going to stop at 9 o'clock every night and start to really wind down. So the hard choice is to say no to that.
And then what's the trade-off for that?
You name it. Trust in yourself. Being able to stay asleep longer.
Yeah.
To have hormonal regulation.
Yep.
And then that could lead to change in 6 months, a change that you want to see. A hard choice is to show up for yourself. A hard choice is to plan ahead. We haven't missed food prepping. If we do, it's only a day. We're like, okay, let's at least do the protein, and then we'll get these sides. Sometimes we're just tired on Sundays, and we don't hit a home run every weekend.
There's a lot that happens on Sunday.
There's a lot that happens on Sunday.
A lot rides on that one day.
But it also, a lot rides on it. That is a trade-off. There are days that if I didn't have my food prepped, I would have gone. I wouldn't have had the momentum I had to keep going. That I would have seen the scale either go up, which would have discouraged me, and that would have led to some sort of a hamster wheel, I'm sure, of some kind. There's a mental freedom to planning ahead. I know, I think there are some people in the group that are like, God, I feel like she has to plan shit down to the gnat's ass on some of this stuff. Because even just this past week, I logged on to the internet. I got onto the startup.
That was a startup sound. I tried.
I found the menu online and I looked at what I was going to order the next day, and I planned ahead. And I knew exactly walking in what I was going to do. And that's exactly what I did. And they didn't bat an eye, and that's what I had. And I walked out feeling the self-trust, that I had mental freedom, that I was aligned with what I wanted to do, meaning my identity was still intact of what I wanted to keep up. And that allowed me to be consistent, and I still have momentum in the direction I want to go. So, I mean, the trade-off, I think people could think, well, the trade-off is just what? The scale goes down? It's a hell of a lot more than the scale. So I think we got to get into what all the trade-offs are.
Right.
Yes, it is the scale could go down.
That's a visible one, though. And I think most of the trade-offs are probably invisible. Yeah.
That's what's tricky about this is the discipline that you have to do. It feels like it's the ROI isn't there. But I think you're right that most of the trade-offs are invisible, and they could feel completely imbalanced. Why do you think we don't see the trade-off at first?
I know people don't really notice even like the visible ones really in the mirror. As we lose weight, we still see that older version of ourselves in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
So even the visible ones just aren't as easy to see. I almost want to, I hate to go here, but I almost feel like it's identity based again.
It is.
Yeah. It's just how you see yourself. And
which was my big argument to the individuals that
it was. Yeah.
I'm like, it's not discipline. It's it's my identity.
You argued in an interview too. That's funny.
I did.
Don't you hire me. I'm not disciplined.
Don't you dare.
She's so upset to be disciplined. What did you say? You tied it to your identity, but do you remember what you said?
Not exactly.
I know you tied it to your rebel tendency.
I did.
Yeah.
Because my rebel tendency, the rebels, we're so rooted in our identity that we will do things to protect that identity. But we have to be, I mean, it could go either way because my identity could be tied to my social standing in a friend group, which could lead to me saying, I don't want to do those things because I don't want to upset my social standing, my norm in this group. So that pendulum could swing either way, and you have to decide which way you want it to be, period. Like you have to decide that. But I've decided that my identity is rooted in somebody who takes care of themselves, who can manage themselves and trust themselves and to show up for themselves. And by doing that, I'm showing up for others too, though. And I think that might be the difference why this time was different for me is that I really turned towards, and I'm not good at it by any means. I still have a long journey to go, and I'm still working with it in different ways, but figuring out what all that inner work means and regulating in a different way and figuring out how to not turn to the food to solve a problem, which it never was really solving in the first place.
It was creating an additional problem. A big one.
And I think
no pun intended.
Yeah. I think that's what I was able to see this time differently was the trade-off. What the trade-off I thought I was getting was not the trade-off I was getting.
Right.
I wasn't actually regulating with food. I was creating a bigger problem. So the trade-off is don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that anymore.
Right.
I think your brain is wired for, we know the brain is wired for immediate reward, certainty, visible outcomes. We've gone into these studies before that people would much rather choose certainty, which could be knowing that they're not going to do well. It could be the harm over the uncertainty of what it looks like to be 50 pounds down. What would it mean for me to lose 100 pounds? What would it mean for me to lose 150 pounds and keep it off? What would it mean for me to lose 200 pounds and keep it off? There is a shit ton of uncertainty in that. Especially once I got below 200 pounds and I was in Wonderland, that was uncharted waters. Okay, 199, 198, 190. I still felt like, okay, I know what this is like. I haven't seen it in a while. But then when I got in the 180s, 170s, I hadn't been that weight for over 25 years. It was uncharted waters, which means uncertainty for my brain. And the problem is the cost of discipline is immediate and obvious. The benefit of it is delayed. And like you said, I think it's invisible. This creates a distorted perception. You're actually in a fair trade, but it feels like I'm giving up everything and getting nothing in return. I had an individual this past week. She Voxered me. She was like, I'm getting a little scared. I haven't lost anything this week. She's in her week 2. And we talked through. I was like, what are you eating? How's your sleep? How's your hydration? Let's just go through it. And she talked through what she's doing. She's doing her own kind of thing, her own program. But we needed to talk through the behaviors, which is what we do in the lab.
Right.
And I was like, your body, my inkling is that you're going to have a whoosh this week, and you just need to keep on keeping on. So I know this sounds like, but she was feeling this exact thing. She was like, the cost of the benefit is delayed and it's invisible. I'm doing, and she said, I'm getting scared. She thought on some level that her body isn't going to respond to what she's doing, which is not going to happen.
It's going to respond.
It will respond.
Yes.
I think we've talked about this before, the whoosh. The whoosh effect, it actually is a thing. So your body will release fat. So let's say you've lost a pound of fat this week, but your body freaks out about it, and it will fill those fat cells with the water, that same weight in water, because it wants to keep the equilibrium, because that's certainty. Your brain and your body's like, whoa,
Yeah.
we have to balance this out. So the scale will not show any kind of drop. You're the same weight, and then you're the same weight the next day, and then you're still eating and drinking the water and getting the sleep, and you're the same exact weight for 7 days in a row. And then all of a sudden your body's like, all right, fine. And it gives up that water that it's replaced that fat cell with, and that's the whoosh. And that's why people can drop. They'll be like, I woke up this morning, I dropped 2 pounds. Like, you had a whoosh.
Yeah.
And then the group will be like, I had a mini whoosh, like they lost like a pound or a half a pound. I'm like, yeah, it's really a thing. And I experienced that at least once a month, every month that I was in weight loss mode, and I'd come stomping out of the bathroom, and Randy thought I was a crazy person. I'm like, I guess I'm done losing weight. It's not working anymore. And I would have the same fear. Like, I'm putting all this effort in. And for some reason, the effort feels heavier when you're not seeing the result too. And it's not any heavier than it was when you are losing the weight.
Well, there's no reward.
God, we're such toddlers about it, though.
We really are, though. I mean, there's no, why would I do this if there's no reward?
Which is so, I'm like, just trust the process. And that's what's written on my gym. I think it's probably one of the reasons I love going to the gym. I mean, it's a huge mural in our gym, and it's just trust the process. It's the long game. Weight loss gaining muscle isn't any different. Saving for retirement isn't any different.
Yeah.
Losing this weight and keeping it off isn't any different. It is the long game. And if you're sitting here thinking, I can't wait till I'm done losing weight so I can go back to eating and doing all the things I did before, then you have not done the inner work. You have got a lot more work to do, because that's diet mentality, and you are going to gain it all back. Period.
This time will not be different.
If you don't do things differently.
Correct.
And it's not just about eating differently while you're losing weight. It's about what you're going to do differently as you transition into maintenance. I mean, it is delayed. It is invisible at times, but it will show up. Even if you lost 0.2 pounds every week. You're still going to compound.
It adds up. It's like, it reminds me of that Atomic Habits book. It just, small increments add up over time.
Yeah.
It's the long game, like you said.
It is the long game. And, and I think that's why we don't see the trade-off at first, because early discipline, if we want to call it discipline, which I'm still wrestling with this one. It feels like a loss. It feels like you are putting in all this effort and you're not getting anything back, because your brain hasn't caught up to the return yet. You're absolutely right. It hasn't caught up to how you look in the mirror is one thing. Yes, the brain takes longer to catch up with you than your body. Your body's actually faster at it than your brain is. I mean, there's so many times where I'll catch, especially when I first lost the weight, that I'd catch a reflection of myself in like a window. I'm like, holy crap. Or in my shadow. I was like, whoa.
Who's that?
Who's behind me? And I don't know when that turning point exactly is for people. I mean, I don't think we've got a crystal ball, and I think it's different for everybody. But I think this is where everything can shift. It really can shift for you. If over time something changes, I mean, results start showing up, of course, because those habits are going to compound. Those habits are going to drive your behavior, and that behavior is going to compound, and it's going to show up on the scale. It's going to show up in your clothes fitting differently. It's going to show up in your medication potentially coming down, or you coming off of the medication completely. And then those habits will require less effort. But I think it's because you are starting to see the trade-off. And then that's when this does kind of handshake into identity, because you don't become a whole new person. You are still you. So I think even me today, I still wrestle with, gosh, and shift your identity, all this crap, blah, blah, blah. But I think if you start to become the person that sees the trade-off, that is at least a subset of your identity that is different, that you are seeing that I do this. And I don't see it as just an extra. It's something I'm doing for now. It's something that I'm doing until I'm doing air quotes on the side. It's something that you see it more as your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's key as well. That it isn't just, this is just the extra things I'm doing, that it's actually not extra, it's foundational.
I think what I'm realizing is that it's a belief in yourself. It's a belief or a faith, I guess you could say, that the process is working. Like if you keep on keeping on, right? If you follow all the micro things that you have to complete, it'll all feed into the macro. Even if you have a couple weeks where I'm actually in a spot right now where I haven't lost any weight for probably 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And I'm okay. My brain is like, oh, I would rather be losing. But I have this belief that my body is doing what it needs to do, because I am doing all the right things. I am tracking. I'm doing all the micro things. I am tracking. I am drinking the water. I am getting my sleep. And my body isn't just going to break and never lose weight again. Scientifically, I'm in a calorie deficit, and if I'm doing all the micro things.
Yeah, you're not getting out of thermogenesis.
No, it's just.
But we think we're different. I think this is what you're onto is the belief that at some point it stopped working for you in the past, and that's in there. Because because it stopped working, you were doing things is why it stopped working.
That's a good point. I was going to say, it stopped working because I started to eat.
I started to loosen up on my portion sizes. I started to have a Coke on the weekend.
I stopped weighing or my food, or I stopped tracking. Like, I'm not, because I will do that.
I started to eyeball it more than actually weighing, and I'm not somebody who can eyeball things.
And I am an eyeballer, but like and I do, and that works for me normally. Normally I can eyeball things and I'm like, man, it's 4 ounces, it's 5 ounces. And if it's 6 ounces, then
of chicken breast, is it a hill to die on?
I'm not going to gain weight on, it's fine. But if you do that with everything, if I don't lose weight for 4 weeks,
and you haven't been tracking, maybe you can,
or I haven't been measuring or something. Then you have to tighten the reins. You don't loosen the reins. You don't give up.
But we did before. We stopped stepping on the scale.
Yes.
We stopped drinking the water. We stopped prioritizing sleep.
It was perceived that it wasn't working.
Yes.
Perception that it wasn't working.
And you had this, there was maybe, and this is where I'm wrestling with.
I lost the faith or the belief.
That's it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No,
you
that's exactly where I was going. Yeah. It's so intertwined. You can't see what is the belief versus what the reality is.
Yeah.
Or what subconsciously you feel like your body's able to do, or that you're capable of doing, because there's a fear that comes in that it could be underlying that I'm 192 pounds. What am I doing here? What business do I have?
And I'll say it again. You can't see the forest through the trees. You're so stuck in the micro actions that I slapped my hands. So sorry if anybody heard that. You're so stuck in the micro actions that you don't see the macro. You don't see the holistic view.
You don't see the trade-off.
Yep.
Because you can't. At first, when you're starting, and this is where I'm really wrestling now, because what we're doing now, it doesn't have an actual program that we give people to do. We're talking about behaviors and beliefs. So we don't have a food list. We don't have a calorie count that you're hitting. I have opinions of from an actual thermogenesis standpoint of what you should be eating for long-term consistency with your brain. That's where I'm coming at from a calorie standpoint for individuals. But I don't, if you want to if somehow you can eat popcorn and, I mean, that's not going to be the best thing for you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you will lose weight.
You will.
You can. I'm not saying that's the healthiest way to do it.
You're not going to feel the best
you
long
won't feel good.
term.
You're probably not going to lose weight very quickly because your body's going to swell. You know, it's going to react.
There's
to
all
that
of these
kind
other
food.
things because we grew up with, one of the things, and this is still somewhat true, but it's not the whole story. In calories in, calories out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is there is truth in that.
Part to that.
There is a truth in that. But it's not the full story. It's almost like when we go into the myths in our lead program, there's these, sayings and, that we've said for years. What gets measured gets managed.
It's a half truth.
It's an incomplete. It's either a half
statement.
truth or it's an incomplete statement.
Yeah.
Yes. If you could actually go and eat McDonald's every day in and out, but if your calories are less than what your maintenance calories are, you are going to lose weight. Now, long term, biology does catch up, and you will struggle with some of these things because there are things in that type of food that your body needs for satiety, that your body needs to actually function in a different way. It can't do that long term. And then that's when other things start to come in and your body's like, no, we need some magnesium, or we need some spinach, or we need, I need this and I need that. Or you didn't get enough sleep. And then you're not able to make the decision in the drive-thru at McDonald's. I'm just using McDonald's as an example of, you're like, well, I'm not giving that up. I'm not saying you have to give that up.
I would also say yes. And you're also not changing your behaviors.
That's right.
You're eating the same crap that you've always ate that got you to the point of being 100, 200 pounds overweight, 20 pounds overweight, whatever amount it is. You made those decisions. You developed those habits in eating that stuff that did not serve you in the way that you needed your body to be served at that time. And if you're going to continue just eating less, if you're just taking those really bad habits and you're just minimizing them.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. You are still.
That's it.
And I want to also talk about the environment. You're still pulling in to that same parking lot. You're taking the right when you come home from work, and that's the same neuropathway that you're enforcing that. Now, when you get to the speaker, you are making different decisions. So there is something different that's happening there for you.
But you're still in the same drive-thru. And this is, I have chills because it's right now, because this is such a good insight. The discipline will give out.
Yes.
Because you haven't changed anything. Eventually you're going to say, you know what? I do want to supersize this meal today because I had a bad day.
Because I'm not sure if you see the trade-off, because you're still pulling in there. You're still in your
restriction.
car.
You're just not allowing yourself to have what you really want.
And if you're not connecting that, I'm actually ordering this and I'm actually feeling better.
Yes.
I'm actually off my if you're just correlating it to the number on the scale, you're missing it. You're missing the full trade-off.
Because if I eat let's say I get a kid's meal in the drive-thru. I've done this. I've gone to McDonald's and I've gotten a kid's meal because it is less calories. It is, it's a smaller amount of the bad decision, right?
Yep.
And I understand. I'm not saying that you can't ever have, like you said this too. It's not that you can't ever go to McDonald's and eat a kid's meal as a meal and be fine. You just can't do it every day.
Yeah.
And
in the same quantities that you did before, more than likely.
And I want people to, whenever you do that, because for whatever reason you felt like you had to, or you wanted to, or whatever it is, you made that decision, there's a trade-off. I hope everybody pauses and thinks, how did I really feel after I ate that? Because you feel like crap.
You totally do.
You
totally
just it's just less of the same old junk.
It tastes really good for about 90 seconds.
Your dopamine, your rewards receptors, because we're toddlers. We just said we're toddlers.
Popping off, yeah.
This is amazing. And then an hour later, half hour later, and then over for the next 2 days, you feel like crap and you don't correlate it to
I got
that
this
bad decision. Yeah.
You might not have gotten the best sleep. You might actually feel even less hydrated
Yep.
because of whatever preservatives are in the food that your body's now reacting to in an inflammation kind of way because you actually haven't had that kind of stuff in a while.
I do have a confession to make.
Oh.
So this will be good. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is why you haven't lost 2 pounds or haven't
go.
lost any weight.
Here we go.
I know. But we bought some blueberry lemon bread. So it's like pumpkin bread, but it's blueberry bread.
So good.
And it had lemon on it, like lemon stuff on it too. So good. And I stayed within my, my
Your
calorie
calories.
range. So I was like, and I have carbs. I fluctuate with carbs. It's all fine.
Yeah, sometimes you have 50, sometimes you have 100.
Yeah, sometimes I have
More than
20,
100. Yeah.
I do look at it holistically for the week. And
I think that's smart.
And I'm like, well, I had bread yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not gonna have the bread today.
Yep.
I'm just gonna do a lettuce burger or whatever. I'm gonna try to regulate that. And so I had, and this is the first time we've done this. I don't snack at all, but we had dinner, and I guess I could lie and be like, it's just an extension of dinner, like.
It was like a 3-hour dinner.
Yeah. So I had a slice. It was
late at night though.
Yeah.
Not late. It was after 6 p.m.
It was after 6 p.m. It was probably like 7:30 going on 8 o'clock. So this is late for us to eat. And I probably had like an ounce. I even weighed it. It was an ounce, so it wasn't that much. We went to bed that night and I woke up at 2 a.m. and I could not get back to sleep. I could not get back to sleep. And I just laid in bed thinking about work and everything. I couldn't clear my mind. I even, at one point I was able to clear my mind and I still couldn't get back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, my body, I woke up the next morning and I was like, Adam, did you sleep okay? And he was like, no, I like sweated all night. No, it's hot outside, but like.
No, you guys have air conditioning in your house.
Yeah, we're fine. He was like, no, I sweated all night. And I kept tossing and turning and I was like, it's the bread. It's the sugar. It's the late night eating. It was the sugar. And I just wanted to make sure we had that conversation.
And he was correlating it.
And he was correlating it too, because I laid up all night thinking about that piece of bread. And I was like, I don't want to eat that piece of that. And I say it's bread. It's like cake. Just so everybody knows.
It's totally cake.
It's cake. It's not like it's a slice of rye bread or something. Like it is. I had a slice of cake basically at 7:30 at night.
It was a cakey bread. I mean, I don't know.
It is. It's like a pound cake or like a pumpkin bread. It's like a banana bread or something like that.
What is about that stuff? Because we had some on the cruise and we couldn't get our shit together for probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Man,
now we
threw it away. Just so you
Wow.
guys know. Yeah, I was like, I'm not eating this anymore. I threw it away.
Now, it would have been a different story, I think, for you from a biology standpoint if you had it at breakfast.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's a good point. And thank you for bringing that up, because I don't want anybody
you
to think that they can't have that
I don't
stuff.
want you to think you can't have that stuff either, because that's not the case.
It was just too tempting because I'm not eating that stuff for breakfast. I already have other things I'm eating for breakfast. We got that as like a treat. I'm using air quotes. And
you had already.
I'm not snacking.
Your environment that you had set was that you ate it after dinner.
Yes.
Once.
Yes.
So there was some, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some
really
sort
good.
of reward in your brain for it. We still talk about this lemon bread, but it was.
She used air quotes.
They had. I don't think it was banana bread. It was some sort of a spiced.
Is this on the cruise?
This was on the cruise.
Okay.
But they were small bites, and it was so easy for us. We didn't have to bake a whole loaf of bread or buy one. Like we could just get it
which is the perfect way to do it.
It was
not buying a loaf of the bread.
And we just tried to do it more in the morning. But I'll tell you what, the next time I go on a cruise, I've totally plowed that pathway.
Mm-hmm. You're like,
I'm going for the bread.
We
tried to do it
for breakfast
before noon.
Yeah.
It was something that and we did a lot of walking on the cruise ship. So we tried to balance it out as best we could. And our weight didn't go up. So it wasn't a weight thing, but it was more of a brain thing for us that we wanted to extend that pleasure in some way.
Yeah.
And we even passed by something the other day in the grocery store, and I think it was a lemon loaf of some kind. And we're like, oh, remember the cruise? And now we have that memory now, and it's funny and we talk about it. But also, if you look at our scale and our logs for 2 to 3 weeks after the cruise, that's when we struggled the most. That's when you could see the peaks and valleys with our calories, our macros. We still kept to the gym. And the scale didn't go up. It just felt harder.
But you recognize that. And that's the beauty of tracking and
giving yourself the evidence.
Yes. It's
and
the
what's
evidence.
the trade-off here?
And I know you journal, so I'm sure the feeling of it being harder came out.
It did. And I don't know that I would have correlated that in the past if I wasn't looking for the evidence and like, okay, now what's really coming off of this? Well, we're coming off of a time where we were able to have some kind of a freedom, I guess. I'm doing air quotes, that we got out of our routine. We were able, I'm telling you, this stuff was there at all. If no one's ever been on a cruise, which this was our first cruise, it's there all the time. Like, there's these. It's so great because you could just.
That was like half agreement.
We would find ourselves going, maybe we should go to the 7th floor and walk through there on our way to our room, which was not on the 7th floor, by the way. But we could make
anything on the way. Yeah.
Which you could make that McDonald's drive-thru on the way to about anything.
It probably is on the way to about anything. Unfortunately,
what is the trade-off though?
Right.
And we didn't sleep very well either.
But you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you knew better and you did better.
Yeah.
You kept to the gym. You recognized it.
Yeah.
And I think your weight loss and your maintenance is so tied to your identity at this point. And I mean, yes, you could totally go off the rails, but
for sure.
As long as you keep the belief that everything that you have evidence that it's worked.
I don't miss twice.
Yes.
That's my thing. So when you talked before about, maybe we stopped measuring a little bit in the past, and that's when the weight would either not go down or it would remain the same. So there was this perception, this belief that it wasn't working. Where was I going with that one? It's just that if I have a day where I eat out. Now, in weight loss mode, I was very meticulous where you saw it. I would take my scale with me to restaurants and I would weigh my food. Now, that put me through something that it was habits I was building with myself. It was trust I was building with myself. It was also for me, for my brain, knowing that I had 160 ounces of chicken or whatever it was, also allowed my brain to calm down and go, you've had enough.
Well, yeah, because if you mentioned that there were weeks where you didn't lose any weight.
Yeah.
Why freak out?
You
have the evidence that it's going to work.
Solid evidence that I've been putting in the stuff and I can do it. I want to sit here for a second because I'm not saying people need to do this. I'm saying I needed to do that for me, for this time to be different. But it also taught me that shrimp at this one restaurant ranges anywhere from 23 grams to about 28 grams. So whenever I go there, I log 25 grams of shrimp.
Smart.
It's enough of a, and I did it. It's not like I did it once. I did it multiple times there. That this was just, and now I know that about 25 grams of shrimp looks about like this in the palm of my hand. I also know that chicken wings, and yes, I actually pulled it off of the bone and measured it in restaurants, that about every chicken wing is about 20, depending on how big they are. If they're a relatively medium-sized chicken wing, then it's about 28 grams of chicken on there. Sometimes it was 25, sometimes it was 35. But now I know when I go out, that is the average that I will actually log. But I had to put myself through that.
And that reminds me of the saying, discipline equals freedom. It's like you had to have that.
That's so true.
Discipline that now you're in a state where you can eyeball it because you've experienced it. You've had that hard discipline, and now you're able to say, 25 is good, and I'm comfortable with that. Like you put in that hard. That's just amazing to me.
I don't think I would have been okay with the ballparking if I didn't put in the discipline then.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, if they do ballpark now, they feel like it's the all or nothing mindset, that they're not doing enough, so why even do it at all? Well, I'm sorry, but logging 28 grams is a hell of a lot better than just having the chocolate cake. Let's be clear. So you're right. So discipline at first. Okay, maybe there was some discipline. There was some white-knuckling it for sure. No doubt.
It was discipline. I mean, it just wasn't natural.
Yeah.
You forced it.
You're changing what you're doing in some way. So at first, you're consciously overriding your default patterns.
Yes.
And it feels hard. And I think going into it knowing that this is I'm in that discipline phase. This is phase 1, or this is maybe you're in phase 2 where
the phases of weight loss.
the phases of this needs to be a chapter in the book for sure. But then it becomes you're right. You gain some automation, some automaticity around it that I know also that
which is that freedom.
It's the freedom that you gain from it. And then the behavior repeats and then it repeats again. And the brain begins recognizing those patterns, whether you know it or not. Those neural pathways strengthen and then the behavior requires less effort. So when I go out to a restaurant now, I don't bring my scale typically. 9 times out of 10 anymore, I don't. I actually have it with me sometimes, but I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. This feels good. This feels like it's about 200 grams of roasted chicken that I'm getting. But I do find that if there's a day that I do eat out at a restaurant and I actually haven't weighed and measured it, I did more of my ballparking based off of the data and the discipline I had before and my evidence, I typically will have the next day where I do weigh and measure. So I don't miss twice is kind of how I put it to myself. Or if I had a day where I allowed myself the lemon loaf, and I'm using that metaphorically, it could be anything, that the next day and not that I missed something, but I wasn't as tight as I know 2 days of that could lead to 2 weeks of it pretty quickly for me.
It's like that story with the guy, the barbecue guy in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
I love what he said. It's all about what you do when you get, it's okay to have these things on vacation. And you're saying basically it's okay to have these things one day, but it's what you do when you get back.
It's what you do when you get back.
Yeah.
And the less shame you give yourself when you get back, the easier it's going to be to get back on track. Absolutely. Because shame will spiral for a lot of people.
Sure will.
So there's discipline first, then it becomes consistency, and then it's automaticity. The behavior becomes part of how I do things. It's less of, you start to see the trade-off as not being just the numbers on the scale, that it's how I'm able to sleep, which means how I'm able to function executively the next day in work meetings, because you don't want to have another night where you wake up at 2 a.m. and you can't get back to sleep at all. Because honestly, at this age, any hour of sleep I miss is compounded for me. I'm also someone that I just feel like I need more sleep than maybe most people.
I was angry with myself because and I think that goes with like reflection, but you shouldn't judge yourself. You shouldn't have shame. But like I was angry at myself that I did that because I just lost out on like 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep. You know, I knew that after all the sleep research that we've done, right?
Like, now you know.
You don't get that back.
You don't. I will say this, and I think this needs to be a whole nother thing that we do. When I say don't shame yourself, that doesn't mean don't hold yourself accountable or responsible. And I think people feel like, oh, you're just letting me off the hook. No, I'm actually not. But I'm not dragging you personally, you through the mud. Because there's really something important that happens. And I don't want to get into it on this one, but there's really something important that happens in your brain and you will actually shut down. I mean, there's parts of you that will shut down to what you're doing because it feels that shame. I'm not talking about not holding yourself responsible or accountable, which is what you were doing. This is how I would frame it for you.
I threw it away because I was,
you're holding it. And you were mad at yourself because you know you can do better than that.
I know better. I just didn't do better.
And that's okay. You gave yourself the evidence that there's you can make a different choice next time.
And I didn't even go face first, and I waited.
You weighed and measured it.
So it wasn't like, I think I would have had more shame if I had not kept it, within my restrictions, because I knew I lost sleep, but I knew it wasn't going to impact the scale.
Right. Yep. And it probably didn't.
Yeah. So
The
you know,
behavior, yeah. It becomes, and this becomes how you do things.
yes.
I'm not someone who eats really late, probably within 3 hours of bed. I'm just not, because I know the trade-off is less sleep. And then I know after that, the trade-off is less cognitive function. And I know the trade-off is I can't make the best decisions I can make. And then I know the trade. So
And
it's
then
just
spirals.
It's just this, we talk about the 5 whys. You ask why 5 times to get down to the root cause, and it could be 7 whys, it could be 3 whys, depending on what it is. But a lot of people don't go deep enough. When I say the trade-off, I think a lot of people are like, well, the trade-off, yeah, it's the scale. It's not going down. Yeah, but it's also this. And then if that doesn't happen, then it's this whole like waterfall effect, or this, this water drop effect, where the rippling out can be really, really deep. And it's a little scary that all of that can happen from one piece of lemon loaf.
Yeah.
That you had at 7:30 at night, that you weighed and measured. This is the other part where we're like, are you kidding me? I'm not, no, probably could have done that in my 20s or in my teens.
Yeah.
I could have had a piece of lemon, like one slice of lemon loaf, and it not have bothered.
A whole freaking loaf, and it probably
Yeah,
wouldn't
well,
bother me.
yeah, that's interesting.
Not my sleep, at least. Yeah.
So so discipline, yes, know that it's going to be hard at first, especially if you're starting, or you're starting over, you're starting the 30th time, whatever. You're changing a pattern, so it's going to feel hard. And then the consistency comes in, and then the automaticity. This is just how I do things. I'm just someone who doesn't eat late at night. I'm just someone who, if I want that, then I need to make sure that I have it before 3 p.m. I'm just making this up, before 3 p.m. So my body has enough time to rest and do its thing and digest it before I go to bed. Because if you do anything you eat after a certain time, your body will prioritize digesting over rest. That's why you felt hotter. And that's why, we could go into the biology behind it, but your body's like, dude, I got to freaking digest this crap.
Yeah.
I can't sleep. I can't put all my energy into sleeping, which is actually very effortful as well. So, but the automaticity comes, so you're no longer relying on the discipline. So I think that's where I'm at today, where I'm like, I'm really not that disciplined today. I'm not an overly disciplined person. I've just built so much consistency behind it. And then now there's enough automaticity that I'm like, I don't miss twice. And it's rooted to my identity, which we went into a little bit, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I want to share that this is not like you being, you are amazing, but it's not you being amazing. And this is special for you. Like this is how everybody learns anything.
That's why I'm like, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
This is just normal learning. Like it's take a small step, you repeat it, you have to reflect. Like we have to reflect on it to learn. And then eventually it's going to become a habit and you stop thinking about it. I mean, that's how we all learn.
Yeah.
It's just natural. So it's not some miracle thing that's not going to happen for you or me or whoever. Like it's going to happen. It happens the same.
You have to keep paying attention and digging into
the reflection. Is so important.
And the belief. You went towards the belief, and that's really important. If I believe that what I'm doing, what I'm putting into my body, what I'm weighing and measuring, the stuff I'm doing at the beginning of the day is going to yield the goals and results that I want, whether it's showing up right away or not, that's the delayed piece of it that you just have to trust the process.
Until next time, stay curious.
Keep experimenting.